So welcome everybody to our weekly meeting. And I want to give it to our guest. He started already, so go on.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. And thanks for staying with me, for whoever just listened to my diatribe for the last 5-10 minutes. My name is Jeff Uffberg. I'm from the Dirt Bike Academy. I have a training ground in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania in the Poconos, and I teach people how to ride dirt bikes. A brief synopsis: I've been riding since I was 6. I am now 54 years old. I've been teaching kids and now adults, as well as, anything else you want to define in between, how to ride for basically a decade now through a camp called Canadensis in the Poconos. I got into this at a very young age, and really the lessons that I've learned from riding dirt bikes were applicable to really everything I was doing in life. And I took those lessons, and it was an obstacle that I was having trouble getting over, and learning a technique that I needed to get over that obstacle, and then trying to get over the obstacle. And as I'm trying to do it, doing it with 100% commitment. So when I got to school and there was a math test, and I had to do the math test anyway, might as well have 100% commitment and do that. It's for any challenge in life. So the lessons that I felt I received from riding dirt bikes, I wanted to sort of share and spread. And my first experience in teaching was, I was telling the people that were here, I had my first exposure to dirt bikes was at the sleepaway camp that I went to from 1974 to 87. And I then took a break, and fast forward to 2012, I now have 2 children in the sleepaway camp, and they're there for the summer. And I get a phone call at like maybe the 5th week of a 7-week camp, and they had fired the 2 young men that were running the dirt bike program. And would I come for a week just to close down the program? And I was like, oh my God, I was 42. I get to go to sleepaway camp for a week. Yeah, of course I'll come. And it was the best. I had my own little cabin. I got to go to the mess hall. I was a camper in the camp, and things didn't change in 40 years. It was the same, mess hall. It was the same chef, I think. Whatever it was, it felt really home. And so fast forward, I get a phone call over that winter. Would you come and work at camp? At the time, I was, pretending to be a photographer on TV. I was a photographer, and I was able to take summers off, and I'd go, and my 2 kids went for free, and that made sense financially. I have to say, for a decade, it saved my marriage. Every summer, we'd come back. She would say, oh my God, you really do things while you're home. It's a wonderful, wonderful game plan for a happy marriage. Anyway, I did that. And when I saw these kids look up and say, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that, was my payday. There wasn't a dollar sign that you could put on that. For that individual to feel that accomplished and that self-assured is remarkable. To see the face. I've never experienced anything like that personally, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it enough, really, that I came back and I said to my wife, oh my God, how do I do this all year? Well, super hard. I live in New Jersey. It's not really an all year sort of thing, but I have to say, in the 2 years that I've opened the Dirt Bike Academy, I have taught December 27th. I've just had classes in the last snowstorm, January 5th and 6th. I'll work if somebody wants to go get cold. It's okay. It teaches the techniques a little bit more drastically because your traction is limited due to the ground conditions. It's a fun spectator sport for the instructor. I think that sometimes that the students may have thought to themselves by the time they were leaving, wished we picked a little warmer of a day, but that's what happened there. Anyway, so fast forward, I call up the Motorcycle Safety Foundation. I try to get a class so I could be certified. It takes me 2.5 years to do that. And in an interim, I was investigating how to become a history teacher. I love history, but what I really loved was the teaching. I loved the response I got from these kids when I was teaching them how to ride a motorcycle. I get certified in January of 2020. I come back, I incorporate February of 2020. I say to the world, here I am, March 13th. Doors are open, we're ready to go riding. Let's learn how to ride the right way. Let's learn how to ride dirt bikes. March 16th, the world closed. Unlucky, but silver lining, gave me a bunch of months to lay the groundwork. I opened on June 6th. From June 6th to December 27th, I had about 135 classes and saw about 225 riders, right? Fabulous turnout. The feedback and what I try to teach is really what we were just talking about. They're applicable life lessons. So it's not only the correct technical way to position your body on a motorcycle, which is really depending on what kind of motorcycle you're riding, implemented in different ways. If you are on the dirt, we are implementing a turn with our lower bodies. We are using our legs and our knees and our lower legs to change directions of that motorcycle. If we were on the street, we are using that input at our arms and our hands. So for instance, if I was on a street bike and I was making a left-hand turn where I'm going to start to lean the bike to the left, I'm going to apply some pressure with my left hand, pushing on the left-hand grip. If I am making that same turn on a dirt bike off pavement, I am pushing my right knee into the gas tank of the direction of the turn, but my weight's going to be on top of the bike. It's going to be to the outside of the motorcycle. And that's in order to be able to push the bike into the ground to maintain traction. Everything that we do on a motorcycle, no matter what you are riding on, is all and always about traction, right? It's what keeps you on two wheels. And if you think about the only thing that's keeping you on two wheels, the only thing that's touching the ground are your tires, and the contact patch is about 1.5 inches. Spinning at whatever mathematical equation that works out to be, it's not a lot of time for that tire to grip the ground. So, little things we teach, early basics, right? If we're going to go around the corner, we would sort of want to go into the corner at the speed we're going to go all the way around the corner in. Tires, like anything else in life, do one thing at a time really well. While we're in the corner, we want that one thing to be traction. If we start to accelerate or decelerate in the middle of a turn, we are now asking the tire to do more than one thing. If you are on a dirt bike, it's inevitable. You'll be slamming on those brakes at the same time you're leaning the bike. But if you're on a street bike, you have time and you have planning and you understand where the apex is. You understand what trail braking is. And you, again, assuming that we have the proper training. Proper training for anything on two wheels is super important, right? So, all of my training is on the dirt, right? We talk about lines. We talk about looking where you want to go, not where you don't want to go. It's equally applicable on anything. It's on anything, on a horse, on a street bike, on a dirt bike, in a car. You're going to go where you're looking. If you're on a trail and there's a big rock and you start looking at the rock, I promise you'll hit the rock. Promise, promise. I teach kids when we were at camp on a lake field. It's next to the lake. And we had a group of kids going single file down next to the lake. And I said to the guy next to me, I said, the third kid's going to ride right into the lake. What do you mean? No, he's not. Well, 2 seconds later, he was in the lake. We were fishing the bike out of the lake. How'd you know I was going to go in the lake? I'm like, well, you were riding down and you were staring right at the lake. You're going to go where you're looking. It's just the truth. And I got upset because I had to fish the bike out of the lake. The kid was fine. I took the helmet off. The salamanders came out. I sort of peed my pants a little bit. I have to say, I was laughing a little. The kid was a little freaked out. I said to him, why don't you go back to your bunk and change for your next period? He looks at me, he says, Jeff, don't worry, I have lake next. Sort of wanted to throw him back into the lake. But going back to the program, it's me. I'm looking to expand, but quite honestly, I don't have enough bikes to need another coach. And then I have to coach the other coach to be me, because everybody could really read the book that I'm teaching out of. If you went and got certified by the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, you are going to be presented with the same dirt bike class, right? It comes right out of a book. It's a handbook. We flip the pages, we read the page. It's how we implement those lessons that makes the difference. So that's me selling Jeff and the Dirt Bike Academy, but also being very transparent and honest. The course is available. Well, I guess, so I'm on 133 acres. If anybody's familiar with the Poconos at all, I'm on what used to be the Mountain Manor Golf Resort. It's located at Clubhouse Road in East Stroudsburg, PA. It's one exit right off of 80 after the Delaware Water Gap if you're heading west. It's about 133 acres. I work primarily on what used to be the driving range. So it is a flat piece of grass. We have a little hill climb to the right if we get to those lessons and the people show the aptitude, but they can do that. And we have a little bit of a grass track. Those are inaccessible to anybody that is using a Dirt Bike Academy loaner bike. I have 5 motorcycles that are available for enrollees to use while we're on the course. Those 5 bikes do stay on the course only. Not because I'm trying to be mean and say, haha, look at that, you can't do it. It's an insurance issue. I am insured on my closed course. I am not insured if those bikes go up the hill climb. If you have your own bike, you're signing a waiver, it's your bike, we're all good. I do break down classes by age groups. The age groups are 6 to 11. I take only 4. From 12 to 15, I take a maximum of 6. And for 16 and up, I take a maximum of 8. Now, that all being said, like I just said, I only have 5 motorcycles. I have a 250, which is a full-size motorcycle. I have a 125 big wheel, which is a little bit smaller. And I have 3 125s, which has a seat height of 29 inches. So 5 feet and up can get on any of my bikes. I am missing the segment of kids that are shorter, honestly, in stature or younger, right? So it's a 6-year-old kid that's 4'3". I don't really have a bike that they could fit on. But quite honestly, and I've said it to parents who are saying, I'm going to go buy the kid a bike. And I'm like, I'm happy to teach them on their bike. But understand that they'll get the concepts, they'll get body position, and they'll understand and respect the motorcycle because it could hurt you. But they're not learning how to ride a motorcycle because it does not have a clutch. Right? Unless you're going to unless you want your kid who's getting on a motorcycle to immediately start racing motocross, there is not a short clutched motorcycle available to learn on. Right? It's the Honda's 50s and the 110s, which used to be the 70s. They're 3-speed automatic clutches. There is no clutch. The Yamaha TTRs are the same thing, or the PW50. You're really starting to get into the YZs and the SXs and the 65 2-strokes that are small in stature that have clutches, but they are rocket ships for a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, right? That little kid gets on that pipe and you hear that little egg beater go. And if the kid stops on 2 wheels, you'll never see a bigger smile on your face, right? Ever. But that's more like, I'm smiling because I survived, and wow, wasn't that really cool? I never ever want to do that again. Or that's what you hope comes out of the kid's mouth. Right? Somebody please teach me how to stop. But it's and those are the when parents come with their kids and they talk to me and they say, what are the lessons? While I was at camp, I would have a kid for 35 minutes at a time. Now I get them 4 to 6 hours. It's a different lesson. Right? I can get somebody literally that never saw a motorcycle before to really riding pretty efficiently by the end of the day, right? And having the confidence to know that I've just provided them tools for their toolbox that they have to now go use. If you don't use them, they go away. They just go away. It's the kid that says, Dad, I want private tennis lessons. And you say, okay, that's great. Let's give it a try. And they go and they take their first private tennis lesson and they schedule the next one for the week after. And not once did they pick up a tennis racket between those 2 lessons. Right? So that second lesson is useless, right? Because there's been nothing done in between. So the only thing that instructor could do is exactly what they did the last time, because there's been no improvement. So you learn, you get the tools, and you have to go home and you have to practice. Well, I get the same questions all the time. How do I do that? 1, we don't have a motorcycle, and 2, we don't really have the space, right? Legitimate obstacles to conquer. Well, if we think about it, balance is super key on a motorcycle, on anything for 2 wheels. Actually, even just for walking, balance is a great thing to have. The better you balance, the better life is. Well, take your bicycle out, put it in your sidewalk, put it on your sidewalk, on your grass, get up on the pegs, on the pedals, see how long you could balance on the bicycle without moving the bicycle. If you have a motorcycle, do it with your motorcycle. Even better. How long could you static balance? Well, maybe you could do it for 1.5 seconds the first time. But if you do that for 5 minutes a day for a week, you could probably get to 3 Mississippi by the end of that week. And how much time do you really need on your bike not moving in order to do the technique you want to do? So that the application of being able to static balance is that if you're in the woods and you come to a rock face, well, if you came to my class, you would know that if I'm not sure what's on the other side of that rock face, I'm going to get off my bike. I'm going to walk up the rock face and see if I can continue my journey on the other side, because wouldn't it suck if that was a 200-foot cliff on the other side of the rock face? Well, now I know that I can go ride it, but now I have no run up or momentum to get up the rock face. Well, to try to build that momentum in the bike, you load the flywheel. There's all a gazillion different things to do to put the energy in the bike. But when you deliver that energy to the ground, if I have a foot on the ground, that bike's going to turn to whichever side my foot's on the ground. So if I had 2 feet up on the pegs and I was in my riding position already, I have a much better chance of success of launching that bike up over that rock face. Right. So again, body position, little understanding, some technique, but you have to practice it. Right. You have to practice. You have to practice knowing where that friction zone is and where your clutch engages. Right. That's instant motion. That's your oh shit lever on any motorcycle. Right. That gets you out of the way fast if you're on the street. That gets your power off the ground if you're in the woods. Right. Everything fails. Take the power away. Right. You know, it's a no-brainer, right? You don't want to be pushed, right? We're going to try to stop the bike. There is not a brake made that's going to stop a bike that's wide open, putting power to the ground, right? Again, safety, right? Where are you putting your body? Where are you putting your arms when you're touching the throttle? You know, I teach first-time riders that you'll always adjust your hand position, but if the throttle's in the closed position, your wrist should be flat because you can't get wide open if your wrist is flat at the closed position of a throttle. You literally have to drop your whole shoulder to get there. Well, that's a pretty safe position to be in, right? Everybody that does not get instructed, they get on the bike, that wrist is real high, they get real nervous, they hit a bump, that elbow, that wrist drops, that elbow drops, they're wide open. And now there you have all of the power going to the ground. They are going faster than they've ever gone. And not one person is able to get off of that gas. Right? They are white knuckled and holding on. Right? So that's sort of like why I call it the old shit lever, right? We used to call it, you know, you grab that. I tell them, I'm like, I don't care if you blow up the bike, take the power away. Right? The bike's a machine, you know, it's a thing. Right? That's the first thing I tell everybody. The bike, you can replace any piece of plastic. I've had people come with like new helmets and new gear and new bikes, and they park the bike in the grass, and the first thing I do is kick the bike over. Why'd you do that? That's my brand new bike. So now you don't have to think about dropping the bike. Right? Because if you're thinking about dropping the bike and not wanting to drop the bike, you're going to make a mistake because you're not thinking about what you need to be thinking about. Right? Big deal. You now have a scratch on your bike. I mean, I have the shortest legs in history, and I am not very limber. So every time I get a new bike, I get that. And I try so hard. But that one huge scuff on the back fender, because I just couldn't clear the bike cleanly with that boot, you know, to get it over the seat. So, you know, you think after this many bikes, I would put a piece of tape there and be able to keep the fender clean. But, you know, it's a dirt bike, right? It's supposed to be dirty. And when you're cleaning it, it's a great time to maintain it, right? That's when you know if there's something wrong. Do we want to talk about motorcycle maintenance and how do we make sure we keep it off, you know, keep it moving and on the trail? This applies to both street bikes and dirt bikes. We do something called T-clocks. It's an acronym, TCLOCS. So the T is obviously for tires and wheels. Those are your only contact patches on the ground. We want to know that your rubber's in good shape, that your tires are inflated to the proper pressure. General rule of thumb in the dirt, the less pressure, the more traction. Less pressure, more chances of flats. They do make various systems that you can use off-road for your tires. There's a tubeless system that basically is a bicycle tube that holds your bead onto the rim. And then all of the space in the tire is just air. There's no tube actually supporting the tire itself. And then you fill up that area with pressure from anywhere from 0 to 16 pounds of pressure, which is fabulous, right? Because you can literally ride with 4 pounds of pressure in your tire. You get super traction and you're not worried about a flat. And if you get a puncture, you can plug it right on the trail or ride out with the flat, because what that inner tube's doing is locking the bead onto your rim. So you don't get that tire doesn't spin off the rim. If you're riding tubes and you get a flat, I've never changed a tire in the woods ever. I am lazy, and I'm a bad mechanic. I carry a lot of zip ties. So when that would happen, I would zip tie a tire to the rim, and I would get the bike out of the woods as safely and slowly as I could. And sometimes buying a new wheel at the end of the day. You know, it is what it is. But anyway, so that's the T for T clock. So it's your tires and your wheels. Your bearings need to be good. Your wheels need to be greased. They need to spin. The next C is for your controls and cables. We want to know that they all work. Your clutch works, your brake works, your throttle doesn't stick. You want to know where they all are and how they operate. L is for your lights and electronics. Most bikes now have fuel injection and computers and sensors and all the other rigmarole that has wires, but what they all do need is a charged battery. So we want to know that the battery is in good shape. Bikes are now coming with, depending on what year, with or without kickstarters. Is there a backup? Most of the bikes now without the kickstarters, what do you do if the battery is dead? And then the ultimate question is, even if the battery is dead, and we'll all know that, geez, well, you could just bump start the bike. Well, a lot of them you can't anymore because of all of these electronics and computers. So I have the new TPI, not new anymore, but I have a 2019 300 TPI. It has a Kickstarter. Great, made me feel better because the 2020s didn't. That being said, if I can't start the bike with the button, chances are I'm not going to be able to start the bike with the Kickstarter either, because it doesn't have, I don't know what it's called, a stator. If anybody knows, it's the thing that actually holds the charge. So there is not a charge. If the battery goes dead, there's not anywhere in the bike that's holding enough charge to even kickstart the bike. So you have to buy this thing, you carry it with you. I mean, there's always a solution to every obstacle challenge. But anyway, you want to know that your electronics and lights are good. The O is for oil and gas. It needs oil to keep lubricated, and gas needs to go. Your last C is for your clutch, your suspension and your chain. So chain's easy, right? If you can get 3 fingers in between swing arm and a chain, it's tensioned properly. If you had to make a mistake, too loose is better than too tight. Too loose, you can always put back on. Too tight, you have to bring a master link and rejigger the chain because it just snapped. Suspension, I cannot talk enough about suspension. When you go to purchase a motorcycle, any motorcycle, after the expense of the purchase price of the bike itself, and after the purchase price of a good helmet and a good pair of boots for whatever you're riding, suspension is the next important thing. Again, it keeps your tires on the ground, and your tires are your traction, and your tires are what keeps you safe on 2 wheels. If understand every bike is going to be sprung, is going to come suspended for a certain weight range. So if that weight range is 150 to 185, for whatever it is, let's say that I'm 140 and I buy this dirt bike and I don't do anything to the suspension, but I'm somehow able to compress that back suspension over a bump or whatever it was. When it rebounds, when that back suspension comes up, it thinks it's pushing somebody that's 185 pounds. Well, to a 140-pound rider, that's like an injection button, right? You are off that motorcycle over the handlebars, hopefully landing in something soft. The other end of the spectrum is that if I'm 190, 200 pounds, and I'm on a bike that's 185, I'm never going to reach the top of that stroke of that suspension. I'm always going to be at the bottom. So any bump or anything that I'm going to go over, or if there's a drop, I have nothing left. All of that energy that's supposed to be absorbed by those shocks and those forks are now going to be absorbed by a steel or aluminum frame, which is transferred right into my body. Your body doesn't react well to that, right? That is a full-blown G out from your chest plate down to your pelvis. It hurts. It hurts. There's a lot of compression. So suspension is super important. Once your suspension is sprung for your weight, then it gets to be fun, right? You get to play with the clickers and you get to adjust depending on what you're riding, about how soft it is. If you want it to ride like a Cadillac, or if it's really firm like a Lamborghini, it depends on how you're riding. I'm super soft these days, right? I'm not fast rider. I've taught people, I go out into the woods with them, and it could be their second or third time in the woods ever in their lives, and most of them become faster than me very quickly. I like really technical, challenging things, because I know I don't bounce so well anymore. And I tip over and I'm looking like Iron Man, I feel pretty protected. Not sure at speeds, If you know, I want to look like the rag doll, right? I just know what the statistics are. But interesting enough, we were talking about a little before, I am now getting into the adventure bike world because I feel that there's a void there as far as instruction. The people that are leaving the Dirt Bike Academy, I know, are going to be very responsible, good riders. They're going to be safe. They understand the thought process of being on a motorcycle. They understand that 80% of what happens on a motorcycle happens in your head, and it happens in your head first. So again, it's self-visualization. It's a hill climb. I can see myself getting to the top of the hill. I'm going to look to the top of the hill. If I'm looking halfway up the hill when I start at the bottom, I promise you, you will only make it halfway up the hill. You will not make it the rest of the way. I don't really know why that works, but it just does. You know, if you're going across a water crossing and you're not looking to the other side of the water, you're not going to make it. Your bike will get to where is what I'm saying, it'll get to where you're looking. But I think that spreading the sport responsibly, first of all, allows the sport to be spread, right? Just the simple sense. There are a lot of people out there that don't like people on two wheels in the woods, right? And they're validated in some of their thought processes, but it's really, they're talking about the few out of the many. But like anything else in life, right? It's the few that ruins it for the many. So where I'm teaching tread lightly and pack pack in, pack out. If you don't make it up that hill climb, go back down and start over again. Because if you didn't make it from the bottom, you're not making it from the middle, right? The only thing you're going to do in the middle is dig a hole and waste a lot of energy. And now that riding area now gets closed because we weren't respectful to the land. But that spreads the sport, right? That gets them speaking, and oh my God, we just did this, or we just were at Bald Eagle State Park in Pennsylvania, and we saw the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon, and it was beautiful, and you can only get there on two wheels. I've taught a lot of families during this, weird world that we live in, and good for them, because they're now outside doing something as a family together that's active, and the kids aren't looking at video screens, and the dads and the moms aren't yelling about, get out of bed while you're in virtual school, or, whatever else happens in the daily life. It is a full-blown 100% immersive escape. It is better than these VR things that the kids are putting on, or Oculus, or whatever it's called, because you are in it. You are, not only are you in it physically, you're actually in a helmet, right? So it actually feels like you could be immersed in it. But if you are not 100% on that motorcycle doing what you need to be doing on the motorcycle, then you really shouldn't be on it. If you can't be 100% in that moment at the time. I think it's an escape because it doesn't give me space to think about all of the things that are troubling me in the world. It doesn't allow for that space of all of those things that could be troubling me in the world. It allows for me space to understand that here comes an apex, or here is a tree, or I need to get over here, or I want to go over there. And at best, oh my God, I'm going to stop here. There's a gorgeous lake over there, and I can enjoy the moment of what is in front of me and what I just found. Right? It's the it's the exploration. It's really, and I've never gone skydiving, but I would imagine it's the closest thing other than skydiving to be really being sort of free. That's the feeling I experience. It's a liberating experience for me because I'm in the moment. I try to teach my kids every day. My daughter's super anxious about everything. There's something in front of you right now. Enjoy that. Right? Because if you're anxious about what's happening in 2 days, you just missed everything that's happening in front of you now. So it's, I think the process of learning how to ride a motorcycle and being on two wheels, and the respect and the focus that it instills in people, and least of all of it, motorcycle riders are the best drivers, right? Because you have to have your head on a swivel. When I was learning how to teach dirt bikes, properly by the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, the last thing I had to do was teach a full class of adult riders, and we were in LA, and they all came from riding the street. So I have really two really hard students, right? Street bike riders that have been riding street that have never been on the dirt are difficult. And they're difficult for two reasons. They're willing to learn, but they're worried that I'm going to screw up their street riding, is what they're worried. The other difficult person is somebody that's been riding a dirt bike for 20 years that has been doing it efficiently and they're having fun doing it, but they're not doing it properly. And they're with me now because they figured out that if they learn how to do it properly, they'll be able to do it longer, spending less energy. Right. So again, I'm 54. Most of the things I do in a day, whether I'm on two wheels or not, are really all about conservation of energy. Right. I'll spend it when I'm doing something I like, but I look at, my wife runs around the house all day. By 7 o'clock, she's telling me she's exhausted. Right. I don't know. It's the right way to do things. So I enjoyed the process. I really, what I'm most thrilled about is just feeling blessed enough to do this for a job. Right. For a job. I mean, I'm waking up. I mean, I get literally depressed in cold weather now. I just want to go work. And that being said, I get jealous in the summer because, I also want to go riding and everybody has plans and, weekends are good for everybody to take the lessons. And so I end up riding weekdays. But, so since I've opened, I've ridden much less for my personal stuff. And I'm happy I have a very understanding wife because I'll take a week off and I'll go on a moto vacation. She doesn't get on a motorcycle. Daddy said she can never get on two wheels. I've tried a little bit, but then again, it's still Jeff time, so it's okay. I did offer getting a sidecar, but I think my dog might be better company. She won't complain and scream, and she's scared, right? Super hard to put a scared person on two wheels, right? So if you're ever in a situation where you get somebody that you're teaching to ride a dirt bike or a motorcycle and they say, I'm scared, get them off the bike and talk them through it, right? It's not a lost cause, but you have to get them comfortable in their head first. You're telling them to operate 4 pieces of your body all at the same time. And on top of that, doing it in a specific order with specific timing, while keeping your eyes up, while keeping your balance and your body centered, right? You're asking people to do a lot of things. The course that I teach, and I wish I could tell you that I invented it, is fabulous. It really is a building block course. It's a little bit of chit chat at first. Then we go into a little bit of the range rules and some stretching exercises. Then we literally go and walk around the motorcycle, pointing to each thing and how it operates and what it's for. I don't need to go through the 14 lessons, but you don't get lesson number 2 unless you did lesson number 1 properly. You don't get the lesson number 6 unless you did number 5. It's a building block process, and it breaks down those 20 odd things that you have to be doing all at once to one lesson, really each thing. So the first lesson is obviously clutch. It is the most important thing on any motorcycle. If you can control a clutch, you can control any size motorcycle, right? Numbers then go away. So, where I'm getting this new adventure bike and it's not a 900, right? Like, never thought, right? Because I'm scared of the street, right? I'm scared of the street. The people in California that I was teaching the dirt that were coming from, and I would say to them, when you were out riding in LA on the street, what did you feel like? And every one of them almost verbatim and in unison said targets. They felt like targets riding around the streets of LA. Well, how many times have we been in cars and we come to a stoplight and you see a rider on a motorcycle on a street bike and they are looking at their phone at a stoplight, right? Well, their bike's clearly in neutral and they are not prepared for that car that just lost its brakes behind or wasn't paying attention, that's going to ram into the back of them, and they can't get out of the way because as little as something is keeping the bike in first gear and being ready to move. Right now in the dirt, we don't really have to think about that so much. I tell people you got to cover your front brake and your front clutch because the time it takes you to go from here to moving that clutch is the same amount of time as it takes a tree to move in front of you. Well, the trees don't really move, but the point was made, right? You need to be able to get to your controls quickly enough to effectuate change, right? the thought process of, oh, I have to do this, this, and this, you're already lost. Right. So I have this one kid that I now go to his house for private lessons. I do that as well. But I go to his property, and we were doing this one drill, and he lost control of the bike, and he was wide open, and he had those white knuckles, and he was going, and I'm like, I look at the dad, and I'm like, this is going to be a trip. I mean, he's going to make it to the other field. And the next thing you know, he pulls in the clutch, bike was revving, he stopped the bike, turned it off, put his hands down, breathing very heavy, freaked out. We were done for the day, right? He got in his head. That was it. He was done for the day. And I said, Dad, get him off the bike. We chit-chatted for about a half hour, and we left the bike where it was. And I said, you're done riding for the day, but what I want you to do is go bring the bike back, right? Because he needed to get back on the bike just to move the bike to know that he could do it. So he comes back and he sits down, and I could see that he's still shaking. And I said to him, think about what you just did. You were in a situation where you were completely panicked. You did not have a rational thought in your head, right? You didn't go through a checklist of what am I supposed to do, da, 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 da. But what you did do without thinking was pull your clutch in and took the power away. And then you were able to stop the motorcycle. And he pondered that for a couple of minutes. He said, oh my God, I really did do that. I said, so the feeling that you should have right now is you should feel pretty proud, right? That you've now ingrained in your head without having to think about that if you're in trouble, you're pulling the clutch. So at the end of the day, if I never see this kid again, I did my job, right? If this kid knows that if he's in trouble, he has to pull the clutch and stop the bike in that order without going through a checklist of, oh my God, I'm panicked, I'm out of control, pull the clutch, hit the brakes, get off the gas. But he didn't have to think, he just did it. It was super cool. It was super cool. It was a proud Papa coach moment. But that's, I don't know, that's basically what I got. Any questions? I mean, I rambled, I'm sorry. I don't really do this ever.
A couple years ago, we did an all women's class for dirt biking, and it was, coming from being on the, all of us are trained riders to begin with. So now you give us dirt bikes. Oh my God, it was hilarious. We had a blast, and it was an experience. And I belong to some different women's organizations, and I get invited to go ride and
I have Over and Out coming,
and all these foreign countries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, and I would love to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, and at first I was like, oh my God. And one of my friends said to me, you'd be fine. You're in your head about it right now, but once you're out there and you're moving, it just all comes naturally. And
it really does.
Yeah, and that kind of surprised me.
Yeah, and you can really get in your head. You really could, because there's things like when we were in Utah, I never saw rock faces like I was seeing in Utah. And I would get off the bike and stand next to someone. It was 6 feet tall, and it was pretty close to, vertical. I mean, and I'd watch somebody do it. It looked so easy. I'm like, all right, I'll go try. And I committed. Right? I'm going. And the next thing you know, I'm on this rocket. I'm going up the rocket. I'm like, oh my God! It was like sandpaper, right? It was unbelievable, the traction that you can get. But in my head, I'm like, there's no way. And I'm super scared of heights. So those were always okay for me. Up and downs, like as long as I could fall one side or the other, it's the drops that bother me. But we had to come down off camber on the side of a rock, and off camber on a rock is different than off camber on a trail, right? Because you didn't dig in any kind of a trail. You're literally just hanging on the side of this rock, and and your head's saying, there's no way the bike that can stay. Well, you're saying it's not even physically possible, right? That this bike can't stay there. But the rock or whatever it's made out of, I think it's called slick rock or sand. I don't know what it's called, but it's just that tacky that your tires, just stick to it.
It's pretty fascinating. Yeah, and what so much is up here, and I coach new riders, and I take a lot of new women riders under me. There's the whole story there, but and usually, to be honest, the first, they go through class. I talk with coaches all the time. They get their endorsement, and usually what ends up happening is where we step in is that moment where they're like, okay, I'm afraid to even take this thing out of my garage. What do I do? You know, they've bought a brand new bike, a brand new motorcycle, and they're like, I don't know if I can do this. And so 90% of the time we go, we pick them up. Now we're out riding and they're like, all right, you know, they're feeling real good because they realize I can do this.
Yeah.
And it is amazing. And on a side note, I believe every kid coming out of like driver's education should have to take a motorcycle endorsement class because
I agree. For
I
nothing
think,
else other than being aware, just
oh
for being
yeah,
a
I
better
mean
driver.
it is amazing. I was driving with a friend of mine who she didn't want her daughter to learn until, you know, I was explaining to her, I'm like, if I were on my bike right now, I'm watching that car up there at that intersection. Is he going to turn out in front of me? And I listed like 10 things and she was like, oh my God, I never knew that's what's going on. It's like that
Right.
hyper awareness and
But if you don't, yeah, it's a bad day.
oh yeah,
Right?
it's a bad day, is right.
But speaking of, so I'm working with Over and Out Moto. Have you ever heard of them?
No, I
So,
have not.
so look them up, overandoutmoto.com. It's a women's group. They're 21 years and older. It's funny, I laughed. Kelly McCullough is the woman that runs it, I believe. And so I am doing a Women's Day, well, for them, an Over and Out Day, April 23rd at the training grounds.
Oh, cool.
And then they have their big event. They have a bunch of events. They'll be on their website, overandoutmoto.com. But September 16, 17, and 18 in Tamaqua, Pennsylvania, they have this big event that I'll be also providing services, on site for the weekend there.
Oh, very
Which is,
cool. I will be sharing that because we, you know, I work with the Antique Motorcycle Association. I work with all these different groups, and we're always looking for something that's going to appeal to us in a different way. So you never know. So I will share it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, and again, and if you want to set up something at the I could do the same thing for you guys like I did for for Over and Out. It's certainly easily accessible. It's a great team building thing also. But what I really, really love about it, honestly, is exactly what you were saying. It's presented in such a way, and the surround is so like lush that you almost feel like you're like on, like it's okay if you fall, and it is, right? It's a piece of grass, but it's broken down to such a small thing that as soon as that they're moving the motorcycle, really even just straddle walking the motorcycle, and whether you're on a street bike or a dirt bike, and you took any instruction, that's how we all started, right? We learned where the friction zone was. We had our feet on the ground, and we were just moving that bike with that friction zone. Even when they get there, it's like, wow. And then the rest of it becomes, part of whoever's the instructor coach's job. And really that is to figure out how the person in front of you is learning the best, right? So I've had people that need me to explain it literally as if I was doing an outline. A, B, C. At C, we have to go in a little bit, and it's, A, B, C of C. There's other kids and adults that need me to say, well, these are the gears inside of the bike. When the clutch is pulled in, the gears are here. When the clutch comes out, the gears go in. That's what provides the drive to the thing. And some people that just clicks with, that's the picture that they get. And then easy little things, right? Like if you could think of your left hand and your fingers on your left hand as the motorcycle, right? As your whole motorcycle, whatever you do with your left hand is as smooth or jerky as that motorcycle will be. So if you do this with your left hand, the motorcycle is going to do this. If you do this with the left hand, then the motorcycle is going to do that. And it's little tidbits of how do people learn the best, and then to figure out when somebody's getting frustrated, because you got to stop them, right? Because I've had people that have said, I want to come, and I'm like, you understand it's going to be 15 degrees, and you're bringing me a 9-year-old kid, right? Part of my job is to sort of be able to provide the best experience. And I'm sorry, but no 9-year-old kid, no matter what they're doing, is going to be happy in 15-degree weather. But you're just not. Right. But it's my job to sort of, I put myself out there as being open. I have to go. I'm like, please cancel, please cancel, please cancel. I'm not canceling.
No, exactly. Well, and I actually, once again, another aside, I'm originally from the Midwest. I grew up in Chicago. I actually went, the camp you went to, I actually went to the Wisconsin version of it. It's where I learned to ride horses. So that kind of made me laugh a little bit when I looked it up. I'm like, oh, I totally know. And And coming from my background, it was never expected of my father's children that I would be the rider. And of really the five of us, there are two of us that actually ride. The youngest was actually my stepbrother and myself. And it's actually pretty funny. He's riding sport bikes and I'm riding, I've got a beautiful cruiser. And I mean, it's kind of funny because yeah, years ago, oh, am I gonna do this? Oh no, 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 no. Now it's like, all right, and now I work with women every day to get
Yeah.
them out now.
So it's funny, and I'm not allowed, I'm not allowed to have a street bike until the kids don't need me. Right? That's what I was told. And yeah, so I found the back door for that, right? Which is this adventure program that I'm starting because I have to be on the street sometime for that.
Yeah,
But
definitely look up the Trans-American Trail because
watching videos of it,
I don't
I
know
just
if
don't.
anybody here remembers the name of the guys that did it, but they did a whole load of videos and stuff.
Yeah, there's so many of them out there. I'm really looking at like the local BDRs are probably more accessible for me.
More you want. No,
Well,
totally.
Well, that because some of them I could do alone, right? Because I teach that we don't ever go into the woods by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I would do like the section 5, like the Vermont class 4 roads by myself, right? I think that would be sketchy. But like section 2 and 3, like upstate New York, they're pretty wide open, dirt gravelly roads. There was nothing really crazy in there. I have a guy that was had a business called The Adventurer. So if you go to the adventurer.us, I think, or maybe it's .co, it's just not .com. I think it's, anyway, his idea was he bought a bunch of 790 adventure bikes. He was going to rent them and do these grand tours on the BDRs. And so he opens it. He put in a lot of money, obviously, on top of the 5 or 6 bikes that he bought. And his partner evidently didn't have time to actually run the business part of it. It's not their business. It was like, these are people that have money that like sport. I wanted to try to do this. So I'm going to try to do something with him. The problem with like the T8, the Trans-America Trail, and some of the BDRs is that I have to find somebody that I like enough to spend that much time with. Right? That's like a personal trip. Because, I'm not the guy sleeping on the side of the road. I would go find hotels, but that's a lot of miles with somebody if you're not jiving. Yeah. I mean, that's almost better off going with strangers because everybody has to be nice.
Yeah. I'm supposed to do once again, depending on timing this year, I'm supposed to ride Route 66 with about 40 women riders here, and it's going to be interesting. 40 women riders from across the country. We're going to ride from Chicago to Santa Barbara, or Santa Monica. I'm sorry. And it's and women riding everything, old school, up through current.
Sure.
Yeah, it's really
that's so much fun. So
yeah,
I tell you, as much as my harder students are ones that are on dirt bikes for 20 years that think they know how to do it, or street bikers, my best students are women, hands down.
It's a growing segment, and actually, one of the comments you made, which I'm seeing a lot, is women are now hitting a point where their kids are grown. They've done all of their thing, and now they're starting to ride more and more. Yeah. And we see a lot of it every day now.
Yeah, it's really it's remarkable what's happening, and the adventure thing for me really came out of, like I said, I saw a void. As many people as that were buying dirt bikes and bicycles and all of that kind of good stuff. And the dirt bike people were calling me or, learning at some point. You had as many of our generation going out and buying these really big adventure bikes, right? These 1280s and these GSs and these, not even the small ones, right? They want the $20,000 Ducati Multistrada version 4 that goes 200 freaking miles an hour. Like really? And they have no idea. They have no idea what they're doing. Oh, it's just like a bicycle. I used to ride a bicycle, or I had a 125 2-stroke when I was a kid. I can get on this thing and go. Wow. And then statistics start changing, and the statistics start changing, and riding opportunities start changing. It's bigger than one person. Right, which is what a lot of people don't get, right? So I'll get, I can't believe that the state makes me wear a helmet. It's a personal choice. Who am I hurting if I get killed on a motorcycle because I don't have a helmet? Well, you're hurting me, right? My insurance rates just went up because you wouldn't put a helmet on.
I think
Right.
it's only also depend on what you want to do with the bike. When you have these dirt bikes and you like to go, in the forest or whatever, or on the gravel, and they are light there. But if you're hanging there for 300 miles, you are hurted so much. So
Yeah,
that's
but
nothing.
you're
It's not for long distance. So for long
right.
distance, you need a bigger
But
one.
if you think about it, so if you're on a bike and you have a helmet on and you get tired, right? Pull over, right? Take the helmet off, give yourself a little rest. Certainly better than hitting the ground without a helmet on. Right? I mean, that's and
Oh,
again, I'm not, I'm all about personal choice, but people should understand that their personal choices aren't theirs alone, right? That there is an effect that spreads.
I'm never going without protection. Never.
I think it's nutty. I personally, I mean, look at, and as I'm getting into adventure thing, I'm now saying, oh my God, forget about the cost of the bike. I have to buy all new gear because the stuff I wear in the woods will be no good as an adventure gear.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking, and the jacket that I want, and maybe I can go down a little bit. Like I don't need the best of the best, but I usually try to get the best of the best because I only have me. So I love this Revit jacket. It's the Dominator 3, whatever the heck it is. It's like $1,500 freaking dollars. But then you have to get the pants, right? You have to, So if you get the pants that are the matching pants, well, that's cheap, right? They're only $1,000. So all of a sudden, I'm putting a motorcycle on my back. Like where I'm saying I don't have enough motorcycles to teach on in my dirt bike program. I'd love to go buy another 250. If I buy this outfit, that's the same thing as buying a 250. It's crazy to me, right? But
the possibility for women is even harder to get. So for me to get really something that it fits me, it's pretty hard to find. So.
It is. Fox came out with a great thing. So Fox actually makes women specific protection gear.
Who?
Fox. So more, I mean, I've seen it for the off-road market, right? So they have the chest protectors and the torso coverage, and it's fitted for women.
Can you talk about the cost of your program?
Yes. So that was the elephant in the room, and it's so funny because, like I said, I love doing this. I almost feel bad about taking money. So the cost of the program is $425 per rider. That gets you use of a motorcycle and my expertise and good humor for a day. The course typically takes between 4 and 6 hours. It's with an hour for lunch and breaks, depending on the aptitude of the riders. I've had courses where the riders have picked up everything I've taught them very, very quickly, at which point we will run into the advanced course because, again, I'm more about the experience than I am about trying to sell another course. If we're blowing through the first course, we do go into the advanced course. I do offer 2 other courses. One is, so that's the basic course. Then I have an advanced course that typically runs 2.5 to 3.5 hours, give or take. And we don't really take a break for that one. That's $350 a rider. And then I do a trail session where we can meet at a trailhead and I'll take you into the woods. Now I have to give you a caveat for that because, again, I'm a shitty businessman. I will tell you that it's a minimum of 3 hours and I'm $125 an hour for in woods instructions. And the 10 times or 11 times that I've met people in the woods, I've taken money twice because I'm in the woods riding dirt bikes with a new friend. Yeah, how do you take money for that? Right? You can't. So and that's how the rides went. The 2 times I did take money, the riders said to me, I want to go to a hill and I only want to learn how to get up a hill. Or they said, I want to get to a rock garden and I only want to ride over these rocks. And we did rock gardens for 2 hours or 3 hours, or we did hill climbs, up and down for 2-3 hours. That's different. That's me off of my bike actually doing the instruction. All of the other times we ended up going for rides. I put whoever I was, instructing or coaching in front of me. We would get to an intersection where we would normally stop. There'd be a natural break on the, section of the trail. And we would just chit chat about what just happened in that section. And I would give some constructive criticisms or some great attaboys, or, yay, I'm so proud as a coach to watch you ride like that. Those kind of things. So it makes it, look, I just want to spread the sport. So I don't take a lot of money or a lot of times if I'm in the woods with people. I took for this one kid, but I got upset with the kid because the father comes. I taught the whole family, mom, dad, 2 brothers, how to ride motorcycles. They said, we want to go in the woods. I gave him a date to meet me. It was raining, whatever. I still show up. I see a truck drive into my campsite. It has 1 bike in the back of the truck. I said, what's going on? He goes, well, it's only Nathan was the son's name. Nathan, it's only Nathan that's going to go with you. I said, I can't do that. I'm sorry. You drove 3 hours to get here. But you're telling me that you want me to take a minor into the woods by myself? I can't do that. That's not okay with me, even it is okay with you. So we took him to a big parking lot area and we just worked with that kid for a couple of hours and he drove home. But I don't have a lot of rules, right? It's all about safety, right? And the gear that you wear. Going back to the course. So the course itself, and the rest of this applies to everything. For the 2 courses, the advanced and the basic course, which both take place in East Stroudsburg, like I said, it's $425 for the CRE course and $350 for the advanced. But both of those courses I do provide motorcycles for, but you do have to provide your own DOT certified helmet, goggles, long sleeve shirt, pants, over the ankle boots, and gloves. The boots, I don't really require motorcycle boots or motocross boots. Again, we're on a grass field. There's nothing that's coming out of the ground to grab your foot. I do want your ankles covered because that is just protecting you from heat from the motorcycle. But the rest of it is mandatory. I do need a DOT certified helmet, goggles, gloves, long sleeves, and pants. Not sweatpants. Again, sweatpants doesn't do anything for burns from the exhaust. We start at 10 o'clock in the morning. I ask you to arrive by 9:30 so we can do a little bit of stretching, or if you have to go to the bathroom. We do have a clubhouse facility. If the weather gets inclement, we do ride in all weather minus thunderstorms. And quite honestly, I'm a little slow on the, hey, let's go inside on the thunderstorm thing too, unless I see lightning. Yeah. Lightning, we're inside. But either way, we do have a place to shelter in the clubhouse. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Poconos, but any storm that happens in the Poconos usually lasts about 15 minutes and it rolls right through. It's a very weird microcosm, however they call that weather system. It's like on top of a mountain in a crater. So it comes in, swirls twice, and leaves. That's it. You have to bring your own lunch. There are places to go for lunch in the area. There's the Poconos, but not many people leave because I do try to multitask during lunch because there are classroom sessions as well. We talk about trail etiquette. We talk about planning. We talk about different case scenarios and buddy systems and how do we manage a trail ride? How do we manage a group of people on a trail ride? And that's it. Any more questions? I think I don't know. I've never done this. How'd I do?
You're right in time.
I'd like to get your name and access information.
Yes.
Deb, can you list that in the notes?
You're muted.
Who is? I am?
No, Deborah.
Oh.
But you can also write it in the chat if you like. That's also possible.
I'm looking.
Yeah, when you with your mouse looking down or with the finger, and then you see there's a chat function.
You think? Wait,
Underneath, under the picture.
Under the picture. No.
You're on an iPad.
Yes.
Hit the screen. It'll be at the top.
Okay. Share. Mute. Stop video. Participants more.
Okay.
Zoom.
More.
Chat.
Hit more.
More. Okay.
Chat.
Raise hand. Background. Minimize meeting settings.
No.
Chat. I got it.
Yeah,
right.
Here we go. Jeff, do you ever had contact with Rotarians or Rotary clubs?
I'm sorry, with who?
Did you ever was in contact with Rotary clubs?
No. But I think
No,
now I
no,
will.
no. So do you know that we have something it calls the four-way test?
No.
It's like an ethic code we live on.
Okay. Well, and
Okay.
I'm getting like inaugurated into like a secret thing. This is great.
No, it's not a secret thing if you are a Rotarian. So David, would you like to lead us in the four-way test?
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay, so of the things we think, say, or do, number one, is it the truth?
The truth.
Number two, is it fair to all concerned? Number three, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Number four, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And special?
And number five, will it be fun?
Will it be fun? So,
I like that.
yes.
Really great.
So thank you for your presentation. You're more to welcome to, join us another time if you like.
All right. It was my pleasure. Did that text thing go through? Did that work?
Yes.
Awesome.
Got it.
Thank you guys for teaching me how to do this. And we
Well,
hope to
thank you
see on
for
the
talking
trail.
about our dirt bike. This has been great. Thank you so much.
All right,
Yeah.
guys. Thanks. Have a good night.
You too.
All
Bye-bye.
right, bye-bye.
So thank you guys for joining. And yeah, see
Thank
you.
you.
Hi, Ute.
Hi.
Hi, David. John,
Hello.
where are you coming from?
Who?
Where are you? Are you in Germany or?
No, I'm growing up I'm a German American. Since
Where do you live?
2019.
Where do you live?
I live in Friendswood, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and our district basically is southeastern Michigan. And I knew the club had from all over, so that's
Yeah. So did you make your reservation for the convention in Houston this year for the international
I
convention?
can't make it this year,
Oh, sad.
unfortunately. But I
Yeah.
will be at the district, and
Yeah, I know. You are following Brenda, right?
Bala,
But yeah.
Brenda, then Bala.
Oh, Bala. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Bala is first. Yeah, as a district governor, right? From the
Correct.
district. Yeah. So, and we are we are part of that district. So even if
Yes.
I'm sitting in Texas and David is sitting in Georgia, so we are all over the
That's
place.
right.
I'll be at Pets coming up.
Oh, great.
I'll see you
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, this was fascinating and really enjoyed it. So a pleasure. He's quite a character. I call him the cycle philosopher. Really talks about everything and he's
Yes,
quite a character.
it was hard to stop. I was so happy when he said, "Do you have questions?" that I can say right in time.
Well, thank you so much. And Jerry, I know Jerry for quite some time and always found him fascinating. And I knew he was starting this club a while back. So it's just wonderful. So pleasure meeting you. And David, I think I've seen you at one of the district things or whatever. So
Right.
I know that is it Yarnelli?
General.
Yarnell. Okay.
Yeah,
It's like general with a Y. General.
Yarnell. Yeah.
that's a good explanation.
All right. I'll see
Okay,
you
guys.
later.
Good night.
Thanks very much.
All
Good
right.
night.
Good
Bye,
night.
David.
Goodbye.
Mm.